Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. A comedian that has been entertaining for, well, quite a long time, really. He's become a star of TV of late, having starred in Last of the Summer Wine and Heartbeat, Mount Pleasant, and of course, Not Going Out. He's one of the most loved comedians, along with his pal Tommy, as Cannon and Ball. Bobby Ball joins us on the phone. How are you doing, Bobby?
How are you doing, Alex? I'm doing good, mate.
Do you know, I have great affection for you. I grew up watching you on TV. I've seen you in pantomime endlessly, and we need more like you. You're wholesome, you're fun, and you know what you're doing, don't you? You're proper variety in show business.
Well, I think because we have reality stars today, but in my time, you had to go and do the clubs and the pubs. You had to learn your craft, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you had to learn what you were doing, really. And if when you go on stage, if 80% of your act works, then you've learned your craft. I mean, with no swearing.
I was just watching a clip of you in Blackpool very recently, and it's interesting how you two can stand on stage and seemingly ad-lib, although I'm sure much of it is rehearsed, look as if you're just having a conversation, and it's funny. You don't even do gags as such, do you?
No, we don't do gags. No, Alex, you'll love this. I'm going to teach you something. I shouldn't really, but I'm going to do. Do you know the difference between a comedian and a comic?
Go on.
A comedian tells funny stories, a comic is a funny man.
Right.
Now, Tommy Cooper was a comic. Bob Monkhouse was a comedian.
Right.
So me and Tommy are comics, so we have body language and we don't do jokes.
And I'm guessing the way you stood, which was that legendary pose and that whole sort of demeanour you had, you were happy to be the fall guy. And of course, you had the love. People fell in love with you because you were being picked on.
Well, I have to be the fall guy because I'm only 5'4".
Let's go back to the beginning and talk about your life. We should say, by the way, that you're about to go on tour. In fact, you are on tour right now with both Cannon and Ball and The Dressing Room, this new play. You can find out more putting Cannon and Ball into Google and it comes up with all the dates there. We go back to a child, and it was interesting. As a child, you wanted to be in show business and you tried it, but then you had to get a proper job.
My dad wanted a son, a very northern man, my dad.
Yeah.
And he said to my mother, you'll keep having children till they have a lad. Right? So she had 2 girls and then she had me. And he wanted a sportsman. I wasn't interested at all. But at 8-year-old, I was bringing more money in than him. Because I was doing the Yorkshire clubs with my sister.
Yeah.
Then when I got to be 15, and I'm going back a long time, I discovered rock and roll and the Teddy Boys.
Yeah.
And it seemed a bit soft to be in show business, so I got a job. And then I became a welder, and then I realised doing the pubs at weekend, I made more money than having to work overtime. So I started to do the pubs. This is what nobody knows. And then Tommy used to follow me around and became close friends. And I said to him, get a kit of drums and I'll teach you to drum, which I did. And another friend of mine who was a pianist, we started off as a trio playing at weddings. And I was a singer, Tommy was a drummer, and we had the piano player. But the piano player left after a while. It left me and Tommy on our own. So we said, well, we'll be a double act. And that's how it all started.
Wow. And how easy was it to be funny? I guess when your friend's having a laugh, it's sort of naturally there, is it?
Well, when you're 27 or 28, you like, in them days, you like to pose a bit, you know, because I had a lot of hair then and everything.
Yes.
But we realised that the comedians in the clubs got £3 more than the singers.
Ah.
So we said, we'll do a gag or two in. And that's what we did. And the comedy started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how it started.
I was thinking about you at the weekend. I saw this story about the Frontier closing in Batley. It's never been more depressing, has it, in terms of show business in the clubs?
Yeah, great place. In fact, that was a place, funny enough, the Frontier Club, that was a claim to fame. That's what sent it into full-time comedy. Because we used to do a song, one type of gag, song type of gag, song type of gag. And the manager came to us on the Sunday when we opened, and he said, what are you doing? Frankie Vaughan's topping the bill. I've already got a singer. I thought you were comedians. He said, now go away and come back tomorrow with a proper act.
Yeah.
So we went away and we came back then doing all comedy. And it was the Frontier that sent us to doing all comedy.
Last Sunday I was up in York with Ken Dodd, who's still packing theatres at 87 and doing the business. In terms of comedy legends, do you agree he's probably our greatest and the last?
I think so. I totally agree with you, Ken, yeah. My hero was a man called Max Wall.
Oh, yeah.
from years ago. But yeah, Ken, I've lots of respect for Ken. Still working, and I'll tell you something with Ken. If he stopped working, he'd die.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, definitely.
It's the working that keeps him alive.
Are you the same? Do you need to do this?
Yeah. I need to work. I mean, I'm on, don't worry. I turn around and say, I've had enough of it, really. But if I have 2 weeks off, I'm desperate to get back. And then I've got Tommy on the phone. When are we working again?
Yeah.
When are we going out again? So, yeah, it'd kill us if we stopped.
I admire you and respect you greatly, but I do wonder what life it is going in the van from one gig to the next. Is that tough? I mean, back in the day, let's say the 90s, late 80s, when you were working literally every single night, is that what drains you, the travelling?
Yeah, it is the travelling. I was away from home one year for 48 weeks out of the year. But it's the way of life. That's the way of life it is. I couldn't do anything else.
And then in terms of private life and family life, you've always kept out of the nonsense. You've never had any of these sort of sleazy stories that go on in the press. How have you managed to remain sane and normal and still working when so many end up in a coffin and don't make it? Because show business is tough.
Because, Alex, I'm 5'4". It's gonna there's only wife fancies me. and she's got bad eyes.
I mean, it works great in terms of character building, but what you're saying is in terms of going into a nightclub, it's not the sexiest thing.
I mean, in the younger days, you had the opportunities, but, I'd sooner come home to something I know, what I mean? I love my wife very much. We've been married 42 years. You've
got to have that, haven't you? You've got to have that coziness, because if not, show business will just eat you up and spit you out.
Yeah, she's my backbone, really. Yeah.
And then we look at your success. I mean, there are so few who had your TV success. I think you were around at the right time, but I mean, it was a huge success. We look at your ratings. I mean, they dream of it on X Factor or on Britain's Got Talent today to have what you had back in the 80s. How was it at that time? Was it totally hedonistic? Did you ever lose sort of reality, or was it just a day in the office?
Oh, no, it wasn't a day in the office. No, it was a wonderful thing. It came up, but me and Tommy, we've been going 18 years before we got on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, we went on Opportunity Knocks and came last. So we learned the craft. So it was just a whirlwind, really. It's only now that when we look back, we realise how big it was, me and Tommy, because it was just a whirlwind of tours and television and this and that, So we didn't realise at the time how big it was, but we do now. But I know why it was big, because it was family entertainment.
Oh, I see.
So the full family could sit round and watch TV and not be embarrassed in any way. If I had my grandchildren, I couldn't watch them with my grandchildren, some of the programmes. I'm not mourning, because that's the way the world's gone, but, in our day, it was total family entertainment.
I guess you've got to move with the times, but one thing that still stayed constant in your career is pantomime, and that's just got bigger and bigger. It's ironic, isn't it, that people say variety's dead, yet pantomime and kudos are selling more tickets than they've ever done and paying stars more.
And pantomime is total variety.
It is, yeah.
Total variety. I love pantomime, mate. I absolutely love it. We've done about 34, I think.
Have you really?
Yeah. So we do it every year, so we love it,
Can you do two shows the same, or is literally every show different for Cannon Ball?
Oh, the story's the same, but not for me and Tom, no. We have to keep changing and moving about it. Ad libbing here and there,
Was there ever a period you got on each other's nerves? Because I can imagine when you're working so closely together, even with best friends, there's only a certain amount of time.
Within 3 years, where we really had a bad... Every double act ever living has a period of not getting on.
Yeah.
Because it's like a marriage. You're with your partner more than you're with your wife.
Yeah.
And there were 3 years that me and Tommy didn't particularly get on, but we stuck through it. And then we came through all that, and he's my best pal in the world now. I mean, I'll bury him or he'll bury me, one or two.
My perception of you is that you're a huge star who's made it. Do you see yourself like that, or are you still just a gigging comedian?
I look at myself as a lucky welder.
Right.
I do, Alex. I really, really do. And so does Tommy. We're very lucky people. I don't look at myself as a big star. When I meet people, I'm in awe of them. When I meet stars, I look at them like with my mouth open,
And of course, of late, you've been doing TV, which opens you up to a whole new medium and a whole new set of stars. And you've made it your own. I mean, I got really into Mount Pleasant for a time, and I thought you were wonderful in that. Again, these things come along unexpectedly, and you wouldn't necessarily think you'd fit into that, but you did beautifully.
Yeah, we've just finished another series of it. But yeah, I love Mount Pleasant. It was a real happy crowd, and it was brilliant, you know. So everything I've done really in the acting terms has been really good. But I tell them when I go in and say, I'm not an actor, they say, oh, you are. I say, I'm not. Because they're a breed of their own, you know. They're very good. Some of them are brilliant. Absolutely.
What's the difference between a comedian and an actor? I've interviewed hundreds of people. It seems to me actors take themselves far more seriously than comedians. But then again, that's a given, isn't it?
Yeah, because they think about the character.
Yeah.
What they have to play, and some of them stay in if Paula Wilcox, we just did a thing where she lost her husband on Mount Pleasant, so she had to stay very morose all day to stay in that character. You get what I mean? So that's the difference. They really get into that character, whereas I just go on and do it, but they really get into that character, you know. I admire them, mate. Some of them I admire totally.
And of course, the biggest TV success is Not Going Out, which is just phenomenal, isn't it? Who would have known that show?
Yeah. I've just done one with him, with Lee, Not Going Out. I enjoy it.
In terms of the pecking order of comedy, he's up there, isn't he? He's a funny, funny man, and he's got that sort of old-style comedy, and as you say, he's got funny in him.
He's got funny bones. He's a funny, funny man. But he's northern.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. I mean, Lancashire and Oldham is really your home and where your heart lies. I guess for you, that is important. I mean, you go up to Liverpool or you go into Manchester, there is just funny bones up there. I mean, you can go in a pub and find people funnier than half the guys on TV.
Oh, without a doubt. And they've all got a line to say, you know. They've all got something to say. I mean, loads of my mates, I think, why don't you go on stage? But they can't do it, but they're funny, you know. Really, really funny. We're out the other day. I said to this bloke, I said, hey, Jack, how are you doing? He said, where's Bobby? I stood right in front of you. They were looking over my head.
What are the perils of being short? I mean, does it affect your life at all, or do you now walk in a room 7 foot tall?
Oh, no, it doesn't affect my life. I've always been 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
You'll always see little people always 7 foot tall.
You see, as a kid, that was what was funniest on stage. To see the little man being bigger than the big man is hysterical before you've even said anything.
Listen, let me tell you something. I'm not a small man. In my family, I was the tallest. Ben, what about that? My dad was 4'11". But the biggest man ever walking. Lovely man. I've been very blessed, mate, very blessed.
Well, you say that, but I think you've been blessed and you're still here because you're worth it and because of your talent. You can't fake it for this long, can you?
Oh, thanks, Alex. That's very nice of you. You know, I'm a bit embarrassed there, but yeah, I've been lucky.
I love it. I mean, I've seen you so many times in cabaret and it never gets old. And then we look at your latest venture, which is The Dressing Room, this new play. I'm sorry I haven't seen it yet, but I am going to come and see it in the next few weeks. You're all over the UK with it. Just tell us about it.
I'm very lucky with that because it's a marvellous thing. I wrote this idea and I wrote it all out, you know, and I said to my mates, which is a fella called Johnny Casson, who's very, very funny comedian, and a fella called Stu Francis, who used to be in Crackerjack.
Yeah.
Remember I Could Crush Your Great?
Yes.
And I said, listen, I'm doing this thing, will you have a go with it? He said, yes, no problems. So we're all of us going out just having a big laugh. We laugh on stage. I said, and listen, don't take it very serious. It's not you know, don't take it as the Holy Grail.
It's not Brecht or Harold Pinter, is that what you're saying?
No, it's not. It's just a big laugh, and the audience will love it. And what we do, we're in the dressing room, and we all have little stories to tell within the dressing room. And then the compo, which is Stu Francis, introduces us, and the first one, Johnny will go on, and he'll do 25 minutes in front of the audience. And then he'll come off back into the dressing room, back into his character, and acting it out. It's really different, and, you know, it's good.
I think for people who aren't in the business, they don't understand the power of the dressing room and equally how depressing it can be if you're sat by yourself. It can be the best and worst place on earth, can't it?
Oh, it can be the loneliest place on earth and it can be the happiest place on earth.
Mm. Yeah, for sure.
Me and Tommy sat there and we've heard the audience out, and particularly in clubs or something, and we can hear the glasses clinking and the noise, and you think, oh man, how are we going to get these quiet, you know?
Yeah. Have there been nights where you've had to give up, or have you always won them in the end?
We've always won. We've always got through it. Now, to say won, that's wrong to say that. We've always got through it.
Yeah.
We've never walked off. We've always got through it. I know some acts have walked off, but we've always got through. I'll tell you a funny story. We went to a place called Greasbury in Yorkshire.
Right.
And it was the first working men's club with electric curtains. Right?
Right.
So me and Tommy are working, and suddenly his curtains start to close. So we stepped in front, and they opened again, so we carried on. They started to close again. And we stepped in front, and they opened again. And all through like this, forward and backwards. I come after, I said, don't mind me telling you, I said, but I think your curtains are broke. He said, broke? I've been trying to get you off for half hour. You're absolute rubbish!
I love that. The Pomegranate Theatre in Chesterfield on Saturday, 6th of August, going to the Civic Theatre on the 13th of August, and the Empire Theatre at Concert on the 24th of August. So really looking forward to that tour. And again, I suppose the difference with this is you've got a cast, you've got different people to hang around with, and I know you love that, don't you? Sharing the stories and celebrating what you've done.
Having a drink with them after and everything. It's fantastic. Brilliant.
Is that thing true that you can get paid off in show business? Has that ever happened to you? Because there's old stories.
You can get paid off. Well, they used to be able to do. I don't know if they do it now, but they used to be able to. You come in the dressing room and say, here's half your money, get out, you're rubbish.
You see, you don't hear about that today. I wonder whether it's not PC anymore.
Oh, well, it's not. Well, comics used to say, unless you've been paid off, you're not a comic.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, you've got to die before you know how to fly. Is that what it is?
Die before you know to get. We've died a few times, so you've got to know how to do it. You know, I think we've been paid off twice.
Not bad in a 50-year career, is it?
Not bad, mate. That at all.
You're one of my favourite people and one of the country's biggest stars. Thank you so much for your time. Cannonball are on tour throughout the summer, and you can find out more by going to the website. Cannonandball.com is the website. And Bobby, great to talk to you.
Thanks, Alex.